Welcome to the Cow Park Bros podcast. I'm your host, Terrence, and with me is my co-host, Jason, calling in from the Batcave in Indianapolis. Jason, how are you, my good man?
I'm loving the trend of you having that loud, resounding voice during the intro, bro. I'm feeling that. Keep that motivation up. I'm liking it. Okay. But hey, as always, man, it's Tuesday. Like I said before, no longer is it lame day. It's game day because it's time for another episode of the Cow Park Bros. We're ready to do it up big. Got the fresh shave of the head, fresh face cut, man. Got to look good for everybody now. Now that we're on YouTube and IGTV, plug. Listen to what I just said with that. But hey, man, ready to go. It's a great Tuesday. How's it for you, sir?
Doing pretty well, man. I'm pretty psyched for this episode. I was pretty amped. Just we had a spirited discussion, and I'm not even trying to be facetious about that. Like we were motivated to talk about the topics we wanted to talk about on Cow Park Bros today. And you're right, it is not lame day. As a matter of fact, it is game day. To the hosts that make up the Cow Park Bros. And we stay ready here on the Cow Park Bros podcast. For the uninitiated, Cow Park Bros is a weekly podcast for fans of culture, sports, life, and entertainment.
And as always, we are your hosts, Terrence and Jason. And every single Thursday, we release a brand new episode where we discuss the current events of the day, sports, and the athletes we love.
And even some of the athletes we loathe. Friends, no matter the topic, you can expect a brutally honest and fun exchange of snark while learning through the lens of our 30 years of friendship that originated in Calumet Park, Illinois.
Folks, for more Cow Park Bros content, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube under the handle Cow Park Bros or Cow Park Bros Podcast for more behind the scenes of the Cow Park Bros show and to engage with us every single day. But don't forget that the Cow Park Bros Podcast is available to listen and subscribe for free wherever you listen to podcasts.
Folks, like us, love us, share us, follow us. And if you like us, hell, why wouldn't you?
Hey, by now, y'all know what it is. I don't need to keep saying it, but again, you guys are doing it. So we appreciate that. Keep it up.
Indeed. Yes, thank you, fans of the show. We appreciate you showing the love, and it keeps us motivated to keep bringing it on a weekly basis. All right, in segment one, we're going to be talking about mandatory vacations. Mandatory vaccinations. This was a topic that Jason wanted to bring up. I was trying to chill on COVID talk, to be perfectly honest, but I feel like, and we talked about this on the show, Jason, at a certain point, it is socially irresponsible if we don't talk about these things, if these things are becoming such a fixture of American life. So we will talk about it when we feel that it should be talked about. And based on some of the news that I'm hearing and seeing, this is not all that surprising that there are going to be mandatory vaccinations for certain groups of citizens in certain groups of tracks of life. For example, the article I'm seeing here from SHRM, that's Human Resources Management, the United States military is going to be requiring COVID-19 vaccines for service members. Service members in the United States Armed Forces will be required to get vaccinated against the coronavirus by mid-September under a plan recently announced by the Pentagon. To defend this nation, we need a healthy and ready force, said Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in an August 9th memo. I strongly encourage all Department of Defense military and civilian personnel, as well as contractor personnel, to get vaccinated now, and for all military service members to not wait for the mandate. Austin's plan allows time for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to fully approve a COVID-19 vaccine. All of the FDA-authorized vaccines are currently approved under emergency use authorization, but Pfizer's vaccine may be fully licensed by early September. The Pentagon will need a waiver from the President Biden, to mandate vaccines prior to their full approval. Austin said he has worked closely with military leaders, medical professionals, and the White House COVID-19 task force. I want you to know that I will seek the President's approval to make vaccines mandatory no later than mid-September or immediately upon the FDA licensure, whichever comes first. Okay. I'm not always surprised that the military is mandating this. Hell, when I heard that McDonald's was going to mandate it, a vaccine for all employees, I believe by October 15th, also not surprised. This is happening. It's it's only a matter of time before much of the Fortune 500, much of our infrastructure is simply going to stipulate that, hey, if you want to be a part of a certain organization or be a part of a certain event, that they're going to stipulate that you need to be vaccinated in order to continue to conduct business. So this honestly isn't all that surprising for me. When you saw this news come out, Jason, what did you think?
So there's another aspect to this we're going to talk about later on in this segment, and that's what really triggered me to talk about this. But when it comes to the military aspect to it, I know previously you and I talked about employers requiring the vaccine for their employees to be able to keep their jobs and work. Mostly, we talked about it when it comes to potentially schools and uh, medical facilities and things like that, hospitals and whatnot. Now, obviously, people in the military, personnel, your boss basically is the United States government. But I said this yesterday that the fact that it's being required of military personnel, I almost feel like it adds a little bit of certain zing or twist to this type of story because, well, number one, yes, the government saying that it's requiring people to take it, even though it's their employees. The fact that uh, partially because the military basically, and I hate using this term in a way, but basically because you're in the military and signed up to be a part of that for a certain amount of time, they basically own you. People might not like that the way that term is, but let's be honest, it's really the truth because you can't easily leave that employment like you can anywhere else. They tell you where to go. You can't fight it. They might station you in one place. You got to move to another one. You can't fight that. They tell you what to wear, what to do, when to do it, so forth and so forth. Is what it is. So the fact that they're essentially now going to make these people get the vaccine, and I'm sure, well, maybe they don't. I haven't, in all the stuff I've read about this, I don't know if they're allowing any type of medical exemptions or religious exemptions or not, like other places might. But they're basically making people get this. Now I know people are already fighting this or looking to start fighting it. I found an article I had to pull it back up. That basically, we're saying that there's a law firm in Texas that received a lot of phone calls from military personnel who are planning on fighting this because they don't want to take the vaccine. Just like there's plenty of people in regular society, case in point, that don't want to get vaccinated. There's plenty of people there that don't either. But I guess my question is, what's going to be the ethics strategy for these people if whatever fight you're going to make, you lose it? Is this going to be like a dishonorable discharge if you don't want to take the vaccine and get kicked out of the military? I mean, like you were saying before, if they're refusing a direct order, if that's what it's going to be taken as, then I guess that could be looked at that. I don't know. I mean, if anybody's in the military and has any insight on that, definitely let us know. But I just find that completely interesting. I think this adds a certain different twist to it than just a normal employee like Joe Blow, Joe Schmo like me and you. Um, I'm just interested to see how this plays out. When not to say they're going to reverse course because I know they're not. But
They're not.
when I say play out, I mean when it comes to are there going to be huge large stories of personnel from around the world making a big fight about this? I'm pretty sure there probably will be. I mean, once the day gets closer to mid September, we might hear more about it. But I think this, from my perspective, is interesting. May not be a big deal. I know initially when the vaccine came out, people in the military were kind of used as test dummies or lab rats, for lack of a better term, but truth. But what do you think about the military aspect of this vaccine requirement?
I think I feel the same way about the military requirement, the same way I feel about the it is yet another business that is making a business decision about business continuity. The people that are effectively deciding, hey, I'm on the fence. Well, United States government is saying, kids, you cannot afford to be Switzerland on this motherfucker. So it's time to either put up or shut up. And honestly, I don't think there's going to be. every time someone makes policy, it seems like people are always they're trying to amplify this this frankly, I think it's the minority at this point, because I believe a majority of United States Americans happen to be vaccinated at this point.
Of a certain age.
Okay. How many Americans does the United States happen to have? How many?
Listen,
How many? No. Answer my question. How many people are we talking here, Jason?
listen, I'm going to Terrence dodging question dodging school here, so I'm gonna dodge your question completely.
Because you don't. Okay. So let's just say it's 300 million. I don't mean to go all Johnny had 5 apples on you today, but let's just say it's 300 million. How many Americans have been vaccinated right now? We can look it up. I got time. We got all the time in the world.
My point was, whatever the percentage is of people who are currently allowed to get the vaccine is higher than what it is for the total number of the human population in the United States. Because, like we talked about yesterday, if you're 12 and under or under 12, you can't get the vaccine yet. So who knows how many of those people aren't going to get vaccinated because mom and dad don't want to let them, or the kids themselves don't want it. So you make it out to be like some 80% number of the people in the United States being vaccinated. Yeah, that's correct. Of the ones who are maybe allowed to get it.
No. I said majority, which means 51%. That is literally what I said, Jason.
Is that still correct? Even if you include people who can't get it yet because of their age?
Well, based on what I just brought up on the Washington Post, we're at about 57% of the total United States population.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
So the reason why I brought up the number is because if you already have the majority, you can't magically turn back the hands of time, fucking share style, and it's magically going to be 49 tomorrow. So fuck that.
What is your point in this diatribe, sir?
I reject that outright, Jason. What I'm saying is, if it's 57% today, it's not going to magically be 47% tomorrow or in a year from now. So those who are of age, and ultimately, this isn't even about citizens in the United States who happen to be 12 and under, because to your point, I'll give credit, they can't get the vaccine yet. But that doesn't mean that we get to kind of gallivant around about will they or won't they. I maintain there's a majority of motherfuckers who have kids 12 and under that want to get the shot for their kids too. See, what you were all tight about, we haven't even gotten into, but you want to talk about burying the lead, Jason? We really should be concerned about when the vaccine will be available, because school's going to start. Hell, school's starting for my kids tomorrow. So, if anything, that's what we should be talking about, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Listen, if people have had an ample opportunity to get the shot and you're still on the fence, I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. I'm also not going to spend a lot of time worrying about it, because there are plenty of fucking people who have children 12 and under who would gladly take that spot, who would gladly take that shot if they were in a position to do so. Hell, you got motherfuckers literally had the Moderna or the Pfizer or the Johnson & Johnson, and they are willing to fucking lie about which one they got like a fucking crack fiend, because the thought of the Delta variant scares the shit out of them so much. They are so desperate. They'll take any version of it. So, no, We don't know what the effects of that is, but we do know the long term effects of the 500,000 people that are fucking dead. So that's my thought on it. I would love to hear what you were really ratcheted up about this particular um, point about mandatory vaccines in the first place. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at on it because my kids are starting school tomorrow, and there's only but so much sympathy I can have for people that love to hypothetically fantasize about a choice that they won't fucking have in the first place. That's where I'm at. This whole, oh, well, so and so is calling people in Texas. Don't nobody give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about federal fucking policy. I don't give a fuck what some douchebag fucking lawyer in Texas thinks about this. How'd that work out for the nurses in that one medical district? And the Supreme Court already argued on that. That's where I'm at, Jason.
First of
My
all,
my tolerance for that level of fuckery is incredibly low. I'm about to send my better half into fucking school tomorrow. I'm going to send my children there. My tolerance for that level of fuckery, for those sorts of fake concern stories, is incredibly low. So that's where I'm at.
first of all, well, a few things here. I'm glad you got one of your Karencisms in. That's fantastic. I'm sure some listeners will love that.
We are
Uh,
so over like 35 minutes on this segment, by the way.
no, we're
So
not. No, we're not. We're not. We're good. First of all, or second of all, yeah, I definitely hear you when it comes to schools already starting and probably something should have been decided when it comes to kids getting it because actually here in Indiana or Indianapolis, kids started last month in July. Shockingly enough,
wow.
yeah, I didn't understand that at all, but it happened. Uh, a little bit to your point, I don't really think that many people on the fence about the vaccine anymore. I figure at this point, either you wanted it and got it, or you don't want it, because I think between January, whenever it came out, and now, you've had 7 months to do your research. I mean, yeah, sure, there might be people still thinking. I think at this point, anybody who would have gotten it or wanted it, who's of age, probably already got it. In the United States, at least. Um, to that point as well, though, some stuff could change because this is the part that I don't want to say I got hyped up about, but the one thing I wanted to bring up was the mandatory vaccination requirements that are going to, well, started today actually in the city of New York City. And you kind of said something there earlier that it doesn't surprise you that vaccinations for stuff like this are taking place, which I find interesting because 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Lollapalooza, I brought up the fact that they should have just had the event and only had it for people who are vaccinated as opposed to people who just showed a negative test in 3 days. And you scoffed at that initially. You did. And then now you're saying you're not surprised by it. Well, this is why I really wanted to bring it up because while we were talking about that, this was already in motion in New York City already from it happening. And it started out that it was just going to be for like gyms, restaurants, bars, stuff like that. Well, that has since changed, and again, as of today, it pretty much includes in New York City. Again, not the state, but the city. Pretty much anything outdoors or indoors: movie theaters, live music, concert venues, museums, aquariums, sporting events, stadiums, convention centers, exhibit halls, bowling alleys, whatever you want to think when it comes to entertainment, indoor dining, restaurants, bars, event spaces, cabarets, nightclubs, strip clubs, fast food, indoor dining, anything, indoor fitness, gyms, fitness centers, fitness classes, pools, studios, sports classes, whatever. So pretty much, if you're doing it indoors, for the most part, you got to have the vaccine for that. Now there are some exceptions. Obviously, if you're under 12 and can't get the vaccine, then obviously that doesn't apply to you. Athletes, contractors, entertainers, performers who live outside of the city, doesn't apply to you. And this is all according to ABC News 7 in New York. Church potlucks, office buildings, house parties, or people who are just ducking into a building to use the bathroom or pick up food doesn't apply to you either. So there are some exceptions. But primarily, if you want to do any of this stuff, you're going to have to get vaccinated. And that includes showing proof of vaccination, just like you would show ID at a restaurant to get alcohol. Same thing. So if you're at a restaurant, server's got to ask you, let me see your Vax cards, and that's it. And they're even going to the point of finding restaurants that don't adhere to these. The initial fine is $1,000. Second time is $2,000. Third time, 5,000. Didn't say anything if the restaurant does it after that. Could be more increased fines. Could be just keep getting fined $5,000. So they're pretty serious about this. And I definitely understand it from their aspect because if anybody remembers last year, they were pretty much a or the hotbed for COVID about a year ago. So I'm sure they have no desire to go back to that at all. So this is the measure that they have taken. Now, again, I do understand it when it comes to their side of why they're doing it, but I do kind of wonder in a way from a overall perspective for the whole country, is this going to be a monkey see, monkey do thing? Is there going to be a line drawn just for even just New York? Because even in Los Angeles, they're in the process of possibly doing the same thing there. I mean, there's some fight by politicians about this, and even as far as some of the citizens protesting against it, and even committing acts of violence at protest events, like stabbing people, just because they're so amped up about this not happening. You know, not that I'm making any excuse for violence or stabbing, but it's happening. So, but I find it interesting that that's the take as you took 2 weeks ago. Now you changed, but I'm allowing you to have growth, which is great as a human being.
I
I
don't
know you're
even.
gonna, and I know you're gonna, I know you're gonna have your retort to that, but I'll let you get to that
You're saying that somehow that's a contradiction.
because it is. But again, I'm allowing you to have growth in 2 weeks. You might have smartened up, and that's fine. Not saying you're dumb because you're not, but about this particular situation, you smartened up. But I harken back though months ago, maybe even a year ago, people were perhaps in some regard conspiracy theorists maybe were saying that the government's trying to control us. This is where's the line going to be drawn. This is back when it comes to just mask wearing. Now I'm never a conspiracy theorist, and I definitely don't subscribe to any individual who is that. But like I said, New York City's doing this. LA's thinking about it. The two major markets in the country are doing it.
Chicago's next.
I was going exactly. Is Chicago next? Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Seattle, Philadelphia. You know, are all these other cities eventually going to do the same thing? And I almost want to say probably yes. If we start getting further and further into the year, and we're not getting past this, I mean, supposedly Delta variant, supposedly in other countries, has gone by pretty quickly. So maybe this will be the same thing with us. I have my doubts, given how we handle things individually in this country when it comes to COVID at this point.
When
But
you say how we handle things individually, what do you mean by that, Jason?
bro, so the many conversations we've had on this show about people not masking out in public, and again, I'm sure some people are vaccinated, so they're not wearing it, probably using that as their again magic pill. Say I'm not wearing one because I'm good, and I don't have to because I am, or they're just pretending like they're vaccinated just because they don't want to wear a mask anymore. Again, I always get the gym example. There's no way when I go to the gym, the close to 100 people that are in there are all vaccinated, but yet no one but me and maybe two other dudes are wearing masks. So that's what I mean by that. So with that being the case, again, it wouldn't shock me at this point, which is really sad if you think about it, if we're still dealing with this through the end of 2021, because 2021 was supposed to be way better than 2020, which it is to some degree. We're not totally in lockdown completely yet. But I thought by now, by end of summer in 2021, we wouldn't be going back to this type of stuff in New York City or having another major city thinking about the same thing. In Chicago, probably doing the same at some point. I don't have any factual information about Chicago, and I don't think either one of us do. But looking at what's probably going to start happening in Chicago, could be the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because I know I've been talking a lot on this, but I want you to jump in there about the whole city aspect of mandatory vaccinations.
I mean, as far as the city aspect, Jason, I truly believe that just because I said that yes, they should have had that, I didn't have a problem with Lollapalooza being held, given the protocols that were being in place. Stop. Let me finish. Here's the thing. They at least had a fucking plan. There's no such thing as 100% adherence to any plan. because, and I brought up the speed limit example for that because, yeah, state trooper or your local municipality cop not going to catch every motherfucker out there going 5, 10 over. Hell, I'm not even saying they should pull you over. I'm saying that if you are so out of pocket that you are literally driving 30 miles over the speed limit, you are a danger to yourself and those in your community. They should absolutely deal with you. Um, and that's what I was referencing when I talked about Lollapalooza. Whatever the numbers are, and if Chicago does in fact decide to utilize something similar to what New York is doing or what Los Angeles is doing, it's listen. Lollapalooza was 4 days. Chicago been open since what, March? You know, Bud Billiken Parade still on, right? Although I heard some festivals have already been canceled, but I maintain that's because what people have been doing the last 4 months. You know, it's a cumulative effect in everything good and everything bad. Nobody fucks up their life in or the lives of others typically in a 4-day time span. It's over the course of weeks and months. We're in this predicament as a country in these major metropolitan areas because, to Jason's point, it's been a lot of motherfuckers unvaccinated. And once the masking mandates went away, those of you who are not vaccinated effectively started freeballing it. We are also in this predicament because those of us who are vaccinated have effectively treated being vaccinated as the fucking invincibility star in Super Mario Brothers. Some of y'all at fault too. You know, I went to my doctor's office last week. They stipulate you got to wear a mask. So I wear a fucking mask, okay? COVID vaccine or not. Why? Because that's what was asked of me. I'm conducting business in their house. The shit ain't over. If it was over, do you think your good friends in the medical industry would still be wearing masks? And there's no way for here's the problem. Everybody has done a horrible job of managing their expectations because everyone's like, "Oh man, I thought COVID was only going to last. Man, I thought we were going to be on lockdown for like 3 months, 6 months tops." We all got it wrong, okay? It's not just Fauci. We all fucked that up, okay? We all, and it's not even really your fault because I'm 41. None of us has actually dealt with a real deal once in a lifetime pandemic before, okay? Like the closest we can fucking come to it is the fucking bird flu. So I'm not even angry at people for not getting it at first. I am frustrated and will continue to be frustrated at those who, in the face of, I don't know, legit fucking math and the fact that while many of us may not have children, somebody you know got children. If all these numbers going up and in a lot of places school hasn't even started yet, oh boy, we are in for a world of hurt. So that's my thought on these municipalities doing these mandates.
So first of all, don't you just love when I say first of all because you know I'm about to go into it. But I'm keeping my chill as you requested. Um, The reference I was making to the previous episode about Lollapalooza was really specifically towards when I was indicating about just having the event or any others for vaccination only, and that's the part that you were kind of scoffing at there. That part specifically, and
So
that's
that's the
and
issue.
well, I don't want to say issue. So that's the part I was, mentioning that you scoffing specifically at that part. Okay, and again,
Ah,
not taking issue, just noticing that. But again, that was in the works while we were actually talking about that a couple weeks ago. So, but I just found it interesting that you scoffed at it, and then all of a sudden here's a city basically mandating, "Hey, this is going to happen." So, and now, like you said, it's very possible that Chicago may be in the same boat of doing it. So,
See,
uh,
I was only stipulating that, and I maintain w- we're still gonna need people, vaccinated or not. Some people may feel more comfortable wearing masks anyway. So, and or for me, it was like, okay, let's find a way forward. It's like, okay, even if I have to deal with people who aren't vaccinated, because just because I see the world one way doesn't mean everyone else is going to see the world the way I do. And also, you can't you can't guarantee that everyone's going to do what needs to be done. So, excuse me, for me, that was a way forward. But shit, that was at this point, that's going to be 3 weeks ago. Like the what we're up against with COVID and the Delta variant could have very well have changed so much that who knows? Who knows what Lala looks like in a year from now? Who knows what Lala would have looked like? Um, had they known that these numbers were creeping back up. But I get your point. I get your point. I think what you're trying to say really is that, Terrence, isn't it interesting that you were somewhere in the middle and that some of these cities are effectively saying, okay, we're going to push the envelope a little bit more in terms of requirements.
sure, we'll go with that. But a couple things, and I'll go ahead and drop my uh input into this. But I think I told you the other day that I found an interesting meme on social media, which in some cases I seem like it's funny, but it's pretty accurate in cases of some people who are vaccinated. But basically, the meme was saying, and I forget the verbatim what it said, but essentially it said that some people who are vaccinated act like they're Christ who died for our sins. Um, basically acting like they're all holier than thou and whatnot, and thinking that we're doing this for you, we're saving you, and again, that's again, it's funny because at least from my perspective, I've experienced people who feel that way. So several. So and the last thing I'll say before I let you close it out is that one stance that I'm not vaccinated, I still mask up. The one thing I try to point to people is that if you go into a certain facility and all the employees are still wearing their mask, either because they're required to or just because they choose to, that might be an indication that maybe you should too. You know.
That's very true. No, I think that's an important distinction. For me, the pandemic wasn't over. Anytime we talked about post COVID, it was like, hey man, we're not there yet. We can talk about it, but that don't mean we in it. And these these corporate decisions, these these government decisions, um, they very much really illustrate that we are not there yet. So, um, Jason, I feel like I asked for chill, and I also felt like in the endeavor to ask for chill, chill was received. But I also feel like in order for chill to be received, chill had to first be given. So, respect to you, my brother. Um, Listen, we always gonna hit topics hard. I just want us to be able to say, okay, let's look one another in the eye the day after, you know. So, and for me, and the stakes what they are for my better half and my children, it's important for me to do that, even though I'm doing this with someone who I may not see 100% eye to eye on. That's fucking life, guys. If you can't at least engage with people on the quote unquote other side, in quotations, if you can't, if you can't even potentially engage with people that you want to seek to change their minds about something, that's my challenge to everybody listening to this podcast right now. If your goal is to try and change somebody's mind about some shit, think about the way in which you talk to them about that thing which you want to change their mind. Because to Jason's point, the holier than thou act probably isn't going to work. So that concludes our segment 1 on mandatory vaccinations for organizations and the United States military. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about some hair discrimination laws that have been enacted by states that ultimately are going to help Black people going forward. Coming up next on Cowpark Bros.